Hey there, Mr. Reddit here. Welcome back to another episode of r/Entitled Parents Stories. Our first story we'll be reading today. Karen demands I buy her plane tickets. After that, Entitled Mom thinks her kid shouldn't have to pick up after their dog. And after that, Karen traps herself in the changing room after getting mad at me. Now for every thumbs up this video gets, one Karen has to buy her own plane ticket. But I can't afford it! So please smash that like button. And if you're new, subscribe and turn on notifications for new stories from Reddit every single day. Karen demands I buy her plane tickets. I married my wife at least 12 years ago. She has a 16-year-old daughter, Anna, from her previous relationship, and we have a 7-year-old son as well. From pretty much the beginning of our relationship, Anna and I have never gotten along. I don't know how to emphasize that it is not because of a lack of trying. She just does not like me. When she was young, she was just scared of me and afraid I'd tear their family apart. Nowadays, it's more of a neutral dislike rather than strong antipathy, so I suppose that's progress. Elise is a stay-at-home mother, so she relies on me for income. As a result, I pay for everything for Anna. Food, clothes, volleyball fees, field trips. I take an interest in her hobbies. I go to her games. I'm not saying I'm perfect, but I try my hardest to be the best stepfather I can be. But it's so hard. Always giving me curt one-word responses, always having to have an attitude. She just does things to get a rise out of me. Staying out late, reeking of booze, always trying to sneak boys in, typical rebellious stuff. But I always let her know I love her and I'm there for her in hopes of her craphead teenager phase passing. The opposite is true for her biological father. She adores him. Can't tell you why. He never goes to her games, always makes excuses for why he doesn't want to see her. He forgot her birthday last month and she cried herself to sleep. Well, anyways, Friday I came to her room to check her phone and read her messages. Not a permanent thing, but she's been caught sneaking out twice in the last month, so this is her punishment. I ask for the phone. She says, "No, I'm tired of you checking my crap. Leave me alone." I tell her I'm not asking again, and she just goes, "Just buzz off already. You're not my real dad. You never have been. Stop acting like you can tell me what to do." Before getting up and slamming the door. Like I said, guys, I'm tired. Tired of the blatant disrespect, of being the verbal punching bag while still providing more for her than anyone else in her family. We haven't really talked since until this morning during breakfast. She asked me if I could pay for her plane tickets so she could go see her boyfriend cross-state. Like I said, her mom doesn't work and her dad is a jerk, so I normally would be the one to cough up the money. Not this time. I responded, "Go ask your real dad." I could tell that she was hurt. Tears swelled up from her face and she excused herself from the table. My wife took me aside later and said my comment was extremely disrespectful. I said if anything's disrespectful, it's her treating me like a doormat and a credit card, and I will no longer tolerate this treatment in my house. I told her we don't have to be friends, but if she can at least be cordial to me or respect my position as an authority figure, she can find someone else to pay for her non-essentials. Am I the jerk? Edit. And to add more context, my wife is a saint. She does stick up for me when Anna says something rude or snarky. She just said stooping to her level was inappropriate, but she's a wonderful mom and tries her best. Well, what do you think? Is OP a jerk for saying that to Anna? Or did he have every right to? Please let us know. Anna reminds me of myself when I was younger. Entitled Mom thinks her kid shouldn't have to pick up after their dog. My significant other and I were renting a ground floor unit at a really nice apartment complex. I wouldn't say it was a luxury apartment or anything, but our ground floor unit had a little patio off the back that led out into a really nice courtyard area with hammocks, a walking path, outdoor fireplace, seating, etc. A lot of people walk their dogs out there or let their kids play out in the grass, including us. We have a 1-year-old Cane Corso. We got her when we'd been living in the unit for about 2.5 months, and she was only 8 weeks at the time. She's a really good dog, and we trained her well. We could let her out to go potty, and she'd come right back, even if there were distractions, people, and other dogs out. We always stood on the patio and watched her anyways, because our pet agreement said we couldn't leave our dog unattended. Then we'd go pick up her poop right away, also part of the pet agreement, as I'm sure it's standard at most apartment complexes. We kept the small step trash can outside specifically for her doggy bags because we didn't want to throw them away inside, and only outside trash cans were on the other side of the building, which I agree is super dumb. It really was a small trash can, like the kind you'd tuck into the bathroom between the toilet and the wall. We also had our little bags hanging on our patio door handle for easy access so we didn't have to hunt for them every time we needed them. Entitled Mom and her entitled kid moved in on the ground floor in our building, 2 units down from us. No biggie. We ran into her one day carrying our groceries, and my significant other held open the door for her. She seemed kind of Karen-ish, but was polite, and her kid, who was probably around 10 or 11, didn't look up from his phone. Whatever, that's pretty typical of kids these days. They also had a dog, a little black and white fluffy thing, super cute, but not trained very well. Don't know what kind of dog, but it was much smaller than our already giant puppy. After about 2 weeks or so, we realized that there was dog poo in the grass right off of our patio. We found out the hard way because my boyfriend stepped in it the first time. Luckily, he wasn't barefoot. It was clearly not from our dog, as 1, we always picked up her poo right after she went, and 2, they were very obviously from a small dog, not our 70-pound puppy. We'd been in the apartment about 7 to 8 months at that point and had never had an issue with this, so we figured it was Entitled Mom's little dog. I wrote her a polite note that basically was like, "Hey neighbor, we noticed that some of your dog's doo-doo aren't being picked up and are right off of our patio. Per the pet agreement we all have to sign, we all need to be picking up after our dogs each time they go. I'm sure it was an accident and you just didn't notice, so if you could make sure to do that going forward, we'd appreciate it. Your neighbor in unit number blank." She wasn't home, so I slipped it under the door and went back to my apartment. A couple hours later, Entitled Mom is banging on my door and gets really angry with me, insists that it couldn't have been her dog and how dare I assume. I felt really bad and I apologized immediately, said I didn't mean to offend her and it must have been from someone else. She told me never to bother her with crap like this again and stormed off. I was like, okay. Not 3 days later, I was sitting on my patio with a book enjoying the cool weather when I see their little dog run out of their back door. No one with it, and it comes over to me. I said hello to the pup because I love pups, and then it went to the bathroom right off my patio, ran back home and scratched the door to be let in. I saw Entitled Kid slide the door open enough to let the dog in, and then he closed it again without coming outside to pick up after the dog. I was annoyed because here I saw it with my own eyes that it was their dog and no one was even watching it when it went outside. So I grabbed the bag, picked it up, wrote another less polite note about Entitled Mom's kid neglecting to watch the dog or coming to pick up after it, and dropped the bag and the note on their patio right by the door. Then went back to my reading. Entitled Mom was quicker to come by this time and stomped right up to me, waving the note around, then stated that her kid was just a kid and probably just forgot to check. I said I didn't care. Her kid was old enough to stand outside for 3 minutes and come pick up the dog's mess. She said, well, there's no bags or trash cans on this side of the building, and she didn't feel comfortable making her kid walk all the way around the building for that. The next part is my own fault. In hindsight, I suggested she put a trash can like mine on her patio and leave their own bags handy like we do for our dog. She eyed our stuff, huffed some more, rolled her eyes, refused to do anything about it, and walked off. At this point, I was super annoyed. I stalked my patio door for the next couple of days as much as I could, just waiting. And sure enough, on day 2 in the evening when I was about to give up, I see the puppy run outside towards my patio. I whipped out my phone, took some pictures of the dog outside alone, not allowed, and the dog going to the bathroom, and then took another photo an hour later of the mess still there, and timestamped all of them. Then I sent an email to the apartment office people who were always pretty nice, and they responded quickly that they would give Entitled Mom a warning about it. And sure enough, Entitled Mom comes back again to get mad and yell at me about how petty I was to report them to the office, and now they had a $150 fine for not picking up their dog's mess. It's worth noting that these fines were rare. In order for the office to fine someone for dog poo, they had to have proof that it was that specific tenant's dog and that it wasn't picked up. Hence the photos I'd taken and timestamped. I told her that I had tried to be nice about it with her twice before, and it was her own fault at that point for not abiding by the terms of the pet agreement we all had to sign, everybody who had a dog at least. She went off about how she's a single mom and she works during the day and her precious baby can't be expected to pick up after their dog. I told her that a 10/11-year-old was plenty old enough to pick up after a dog, and that if they weren't responsible enough, then maybe the kid shouldn't be letting the dog out at all, and she should be the one to do it, and maybe whoever is home with him should be looking after it. She got angry, told me I had no idea how to be a single mom, that her mom stays with him during the day and shouldn't be expected to look after her kid and her dog, and she stomped off again. I expected to hear some more about it, but I didn't. The ironic part is, I am a single mom. My kid isn't my significant other's, and I raised him alone for 2.5 years before I met my significant other. So yes, I do know how hard it is, and I live 1,000 miles from my closest family, so I never even had the luxury of being able to have my mom watch my kid. Over the next couple of weeks, we didn't find any more dog poo off of our patio, but we did notice our bags were depleting and our trash can was filling up way more quickly than usual. I had my suspicions and wanted to test it. We had recently bought some small security cameras for inside of our apartment for different reasons, and I had my boyfriend set one up outside on the patio. We faced it where I could see our door and trash can, but didn't point to the rest of the courtyard or other people's units. We respect privacy around here. Sure enough, the same evening my boyfriend set it up, I see Entitled Kid walk onto our patio, take a bag, walk out of frame, and then come back to throw it in our trash can. Okay, now I'm upset, but also not trying to fight this lady or her kid. So I moved the bags to the inside door handle. It's a glass door, so you can still see them, but we always lock our sliding door. Next morning, I hear someone knocking on the back patio door, and I go to see Entitled Kid standing there, looking annoyed. I didn't open the door, I just spoke loudly enough to ask what did he need. He demanded a bag for his dog's mess. I said, I'm sorry, but these are our bags for our dog, and they weren't free for anyone else to use them. The apartment provides bags at a dispenser near the trash can on the other side of the building. The kid started demanding a bag, saying his mom told him he could use ours, slapping his hands on the glass a few times. Trying to scare me? Yes, I'm terrified of a 10-year-old. And finally screaming at me that he's telling his mother on me. I said, fine, go ahead, I'll tell her the same thing. Sure enough, a few minutes later, Entitled Mom is standing on my patio, also demanding a bag for her dog. I denied her a bag and asked her to please step off of my patio as she was making me feel unsafe and uncomfortable. My significant other wasn't home. She told me I was a bratty kid. I'm 24, and she demanded I let her use my bags, as I had already told her she could before. I said no. I told you to get some yourself and do what I do. Keep them close by and put your own trash can on your own patio. Not use the bags I buy with my own money for my own dog and then fill up my tiny trash can. I pointed out that she could use a plastic shopping bag if she didn't want to buy her own bags, or she could use the bags the complex provided on the other side of the building. She kept going off on me, and I finally told her if she didn't leave my patio, I'd call the police, as she was harassing me. The apartment office was closed on Sundays, and of course, it was on a Sunday. She acted like she was going to call my bluff, but then my boyfriend got home and walked up behind me to ask what was going on, and she ended up dragging her kid away again, leaving the dog's mess in the grass off of my patio. So once she was gone, I took another time-stamped picture of it, downloaded the footage from the security camera of her kid stealing my bags and throwing them in the trash can, and the footage from them that morning yelling at me and demanding my bags and my denying them, and emailed all of it to the apartment management. I told them that she made me feel unsafe and uncomfortable in my own home, that she and her kid felt entitled to come onto my patio and take my belongings. I also went outside, picked up her dog's mess, looked in the trash can on my patio, and pulled out the bags with her dog's mess. They were significantly smaller than my dog's mess, as I'm sure any dog owners could tell the difference. I went and opened all the bags and dumped them straight on her patio right outside the door. On Monday, I heard back from the office lady who said she would take care of it. By Friday, there was a moving truck, and Entitled Mom and her entitled kid were moving out. Pretty sure they were evicted. After talking to some of our other, much friendlier neighbors, it turns out we weren't the only ones who had been complaining about her. They had only lived in the complex for like 2 to 3 months before they made so many enemies that they were kicked out. Sometimes I think I should feel bad for playing a part in them getting evicted, but honestly, I can't bring myself to feel guilty about it. Not my fault she's a lazy entitled jerk who couldn't even be asked to get a shopping bag to pick up her dog's mess. I never heard from her about the dog's mess I dropped on her patio, but I like to think she stepped in it without looking and knew better than to come complaining to me about it. Sorry, not sorry. Also, I'm sure they were given more than a week to vacate, as those are the tenancy laws here, but she packed up and left like a bat out of heck. Guess she didn't want to stay somewhere she was clearly seen as an enemy. Speaking of dog messes, do you pick up after your dog when you take them on a walk or not? Please let us know.
Of course not. It's pretty much free fertilizer, to be honest.
Karen traps herself in a changing room after getting mad at me. This happened a long time ago, before the craziness started. My mom and I were at a Walmart shopping for stuff, possibly some groceries too. My mom finds a shirt and wants to go try it on, so we head to the changing room. I'm waiting for her to try on the shirt and just looking at my phone while keeping an eye on our card. Mom: "Hey, Dragon Crystal, can you get a larger size? This one's a bit tight." So I get up and go find a bigger size for her. After I find it and hand it to my mom, I go back to where I was sitting when I hear,
Excuse me?
I look up and I see Karen standing in a different changing room holding up a shirt or some kind of clothing. Karen:
Here, get me a different size. It's too small for me.
Me: Sorry, but I don't work here. Karen:
Well, you helped the other woman. Why wouldn't you help me?
I was dressed in all black, not the Walmart uniform. I helped her because she's my mom, and I don't have to help you if I don't feel like it. Besides, I don't even know where you got that from. Karen:
I got this from over there.
Points in a random direction.
It's not that hard to find. It's right in the opening, so be nice and go get it for me now.
Me: Sorry, but I was told to watch the cart and stay here in case something happens to our stuff. But you can change back and get it yourself. Karen angrily huffs and slams the door shut hard. She might have slammed it too hard, because I noticed the door to my mom's changing room shook a bit. A few minutes later, my mom comes out, wondering what happened and what all the yelling was about. I explain everything to her as we walk away. She puts the shirt back because she couldn't find one that fit her. But as we're leaving, I recall hearing a rattling behind us, so I stopped, looked around, and even waited a bit for the rattling to start again. Mom notices I stopped. Is something wrong? Me, still looking around. I thought I heard something rattling. Mom: Maybe it was the cartwheel, since a lot of these wheels tend to rattle loudly and get squeaky after a while. Let's hurry, we've been here much longer than we should have, and your dad might get mad. So we just walk away, where I eventually spot an actual employee and let her know about Karen needing help, which she responded with, "Thanks, I'll head over and see what she needs." My mom and I head over to the grocery section, grab a few items before heading to the checkout area. While we were waiting in line, we hear over the PA system, can we get maintenance over to the changing rooms? We seem to have a bit of a problem over here." We start laughing over the call. We can only assume what the problem could be since we haven't seen Karen leave the rooms. Cashier rings up our stuff and we head home for the evening, not wanting to hear what happened since Karen might accuse me of not helping her and possibly claim that I trapped her in the changing room. Then again, that rattling I heard when we were leaving the area could have been Karen trying to open the door. But since my mom was in a hurry, we saved ourselves from Karen's full wrath. Neighbor thinks she can get me banned from my workplace. I, 18 female, have always lived in the same house in the countryside with the same neighbors. A rich family with 2 daughters at least 8 years older than me. When I was a kid, I think things were going quite okay. But as the years passed, they started to respect us less and less and would often get into fights with my parents because of their attitude and noise. They're basically the worst neighbors you can think of. I don't remember exactly when, but I was about 8 years old when they even stopped saying hello to me or even replying when I greeted them. They basically stopped acknowledging my existence, and I remember it hurting me a lot. Now, we could have complained about them when they stepped out of line, but we knew they had way more money and power than us, and that if they wanted to get us into trouble, they could. It came to a close call once when my father snapped at one of the daughters a few years ago. Let's call her Julie. She's the entitled person in this story. Now, Julie and I have one common passion: horses. And of course, we ended up at the same riding center, which is surprising because I would have expected her to choose a more classy and prestigious stable. I've been going there since I was 11, but haven't seen her much because we didn't go there on the same days. At the beginning of 2020, her horse passed away, so she stopped coming. But in the summer, she came back and asked if there was any horse she could buy. I think she's now a part owner of a lovely mare. In the meantime, I had started working at the stable on the weekends and got to know pretty much all of the regular riders and owners that frequent it. The manager of the center knows me well, and he lets me take care of one of his horses as if he were my own. So I've been going to the stables every day after school as well, and therefore I see Julie a lot. The funny thing is, she's tried so hard to ignore me for the past 10 years that she doesn't know what I look like anymore, and therefore hasn't recognized me at all. She just thinks I'm a simple horse girl, and not the person who has been living next to her for 18 years. I haven't said anything to anyone about it because I don't want to cause trouble. What happens next at home has nothing to do with the riding center. While we don't really talk to each other, we at least say hi and the regular "have a nice ride" and such, as everyone does where I live. But I think she put the pieces together a few weeks ago because she began giving me dirty looks at the stables. Again, I don't really know what I did to her except merely existing. But for some reason, she wants to cause my family trouble and began talking crap about me. Now, I like to think I'm pretty well liked among the regulars here and have no problems with anyone. I've heard from a few friends that Julie has been talking about me, so I just admitted that she was indeed my neighbor and that our families didn't get along well, but that I never wanted to bring our personal problems to the writing center. Obviously, she doesn't hold the same views as me. At first, I didn't pay it any attention, but then she started talking to my boss, the stable's owner, about me. He was the one telling me about it, but he didn't go into the details. Apparently, she's been asking things like, "Is she even qualified?" and "She's not very polite. She's been causing problems with the horse owners," which is utter BS if you ask me, and basically pressuring him into firing me. Well, that obviously didn't happen because my boss is not someone you can manipulate like that, and he saw right through her crap. He warned her that if he ever heard one more bad word about me, he would ban her from the writing center. I didn't really go over the details in the post on why my neighbors don't like us, but I do know the reason of the animosity. Basically, my neighbors are the kind of people who expect everyone to kneel before them and that they can get away with everything because they have money and powerful work positions. When my parents moved into our house, they played really nice, inviting them for dinner and giving them their old baby and kid stuff because my mother was pregnant at the time. But my parents had understood from the beginning that there was nothing generous and honest about them and their nice acts. It was a way to get you on their side, to buy you, if you will, so they could get away with more crap. So they soon started pushing the limits of what a respectable neighbor would do. Always making noise, always being extremely loud, having gardeners and/or construction workers working for them on Sundays, which is illegal in my country because you're not supposed to make noise on Sunday. Organizing barbecues every evening with kerosene, which made an awful thick smoke that invaded our garden and would get inside our house. Because of them, we can never enjoy a single day of peaceful rest. We can never be outside without hearing their loud voices. We can never have a window open without their cigarette smoke getting inside. We can never sleep peacefully because they have to go outside in the middle of the night very loudly, often very drunkenly. I remember my father once asking them to tone it down at midnight on a Sunday while they were having a party outside because I was small and had school in the morning. They didn't tone it down, and the next day my parents received a letter asking to meet up to discuss. Then when my parents went to talk with them, the neighbors basically said that my father had been in the wrong for that and that they were keeping them from living their life. Things like that kept happening over and over. They even had the audacity to complain when we had family over and my young cousins were playing in the garden rather loudly. The one time that my father snapped at the daughter was because she kept yelling for nothing. I swear, they can't speak without screaming. It's the worst thing. She complained to her parents about it. She was at least 23 at the time, and they tried calling my mom at work to say my father was out of line. So yeah, they basically hate my family for existing. They're genuinely the worst people I know. I'm actually so angry after writing this, I want to cry about it. I truly believe they wasted a good part of our lives. My parents bought this house in the calm countryside with a nice garden and lots of place to relax outside, and they never got to enjoy it. The number of times we couldn't sleep because of them. The number of times my mom was stressed out and crying because of them. I'm so angry. I can't wait to move out so my parents can go live somewhere else as well. Have you ever had neighbors that you just couldn't stand? If so, what did they do wrong? Please let us know.
My neighbor still won't let me use his Wi-Fi. I'm going to make him regret it.
I talked back to a customer today and it felt amazing. So I had this real grumpy, real picky, real old guy come in today. He says what he wants. I pull out the bread and he tells me he wants it cut in 2 halves. I ask if he wants it cut into 2 6-inchers or...
No! Cut the top half from the bottom half. Completely.
He interrupts before I can finish asking my question. So I do. For anyone reading who hasn't worked at Subway, our bread knives are by design too short to cut the bread completely in half. We're supposed to cut through most of the bread, called a wedge cut, so I have to cut the entire way around the bread. As soon as I do, he yells, like actually raised his voice,
"Stop! You're tearing up the bread."
So I separate the bread as best I can and very carefully cut what I need to with only the very tip of my knife. So his bread is finally cut to his liking. I ask if he wants it toasted and he says yes, so I start putting on his ham.
No, no, no!
He again raises his voice to tell me that he only wants the bread toasted. So I toast just his 2 separate halves of bread like he wants. Then he stops his yelling for a while, but still managed to criticize everything. His cheese was too overlapping slightly. I was spilling too much lettuce. The tomatoes I chose weren't good enough for him. His onions weren't spread out enough. He wanted me to lift up the meat to place the sauces right on the bread. Then I finally close his sub. Kinda awkward when it's in two separate pieces, by the way. Maybe we do the wedge cut for a reason. Cut the sandwich in half the proper way this time and go to wrap it when he raises his voice again, yelling,
Look what you've done. You've cut the paper along with my sandwich.
So I found out being yelled at 4 times was my limit and I snapped. I told him something like, I've been trying to do my best with your difficult requests this whole time. Man, and it does not matter at all if your deli paper is cut because your sandwich gets wrapped in something else anyway. I don't know if you've noticed, but there are other people behind you waiting for food, so I have to work fast, and you've just been difficult and rude the whole time. I then quickly bagged his sandwich, pushed it towards him, and started ringing him up while he just stood there for a few seconds and just started to make me feel bad about it until he just turns around and leaves, yelling on his way that he will never be back to our Subway. I hope he was telling the truth. Speaking of Subway, what's your favorite sandwich at Subway? Please let us know.
Sweet onion chicken teriyaki for the win, bruh.
This idiot bought a bag of 2-year-old popcorn. This just happened today. I work in a candy store with a popcorn section. The store opened at 9 a.m. I wasn't scheduled until 11 a.m. It took me until 3:30 p.m. to even realize this. I was ringing down a lady and she asked about our popcorn sizes. It went as followed. We've got the lady and me. Me. Hello, ma'am. What can I do for you today? Lady. I want some cheddar cheese popcorn. Me. Okay, no problem. What size? What are your sizes? I point to the shelf above me with our displayed sized popcorn bags. Me. Well, we have the large bag only for butter for $3. We have the large flavored for $6.95, and we have… I'm sorry, ma'am. I'm a little caught off guard. We did have a display bag for our regular size. She laughs at my confusion, and we finish the transaction. 2 minutes later, my boss walks by and I call him. Me. Hey, tell me. I point to the display shelf. Did someone really come in and steal our display bag? I can't hold my laughter. I've never seen him look so confused as he sees the bag missing, and he just keeps saying, That is nasty. Me. That bag is 2 years old. I'm practically on the floor laughing at this point, and I tell everybody. Not long after, I tell my coworker who works in the front and has been here since opening. Coworker. Oh my god, that is Wait, was it cheddar cheese popcorn in that bag? Me. Yeah. Coworker. Oh my god, I sold it to him. So here's what apparently happened. Some guy came into our popcorn section, and instead of asking for help, he decided to grab our display bag that I guess he assumed was fresh, even though it was cold and has the price written on it in faded Sharpie. Then he went to my coworker and handed her the bag facing the other way so she didn't see the writing and paid $4 for it. I've been laughing since this happened, and I'm waiting for this guy to call our store and complain about his stale, expired, cheddar, 2-year-old popcorn. DoorDash sucks. This happened a couple of days ago, but I'm finally feeling cranky enough to vent about it. My job is open for sit down, and we do takeout for pickup only. You call us, I take your order, I ring it in, you come pay me, and I hand you your food. We were not on any kind of dash, any type of eating that could be Uber, nothing. We found out that someone, or the app itself, put our restaurant on the app by themselves with food we didn't have available and incorrect prices. So someone calls in an order. I enter it, and to everyone's surprise, a dasher shows up. They pay me with their card, DoorDash card, and of course leave no tip. It dawns on me that the dashers are getting orders sent to them somehow and then calling it in themselves. I have no idea what the heck this loophole was, but I was sick of being stiffed on $100 plus orders, especially after the owner of the pub said we aren't on DoorDash. So a few days ago, this happens again. I tell him we aren't on DoorDash, and I have no idea how he got this order, but don't do it again. He asks how long the food will be, so I tell him 5 to 10 minutes still. He gets super mad and says, Cancel it, cancel the order, and storms out. So I tell Kitchen not to make it, I void the order, go on with my life. 25 minutes later, a new dasher shows up. I'm confused as I have no orders. He shows me the canceled order. I tell him, no, you guys canceled it. The customer? No, the very angry jerk who left here almost 30 minutes ago. I tell him we don't have the order anymore, the food isn't and won't be ready, and they leave. I open DoorDash and see our restaurant on there even though we shouldn't be. I show the owner of the place, and in 2 minutes we are removed from the site as we should have been the entire time. Literally the most annoying thing I've dealt with, and 75% of my customers are creepy old dudes. Ugh. Edit. I do not have any hate for Dashers. I've never been rude to a delivery driver, and I have no clue how the app/company works. Sorry, I know we all get paid like crap and rely on our tips to get by. I simply wanted to vent about an experience I had. If I was a jerk to everyone for no reason, I wouldn't be in customer service. Please come watch this video next, you will love it.
And huge shout out to our newest official channel members, John and Irish Hearts. Thank you so much for supporting the channel. Join as a channel member today and we'll give you a special shout out in our next video. And to have us make any kind of video you'd like us to, come visit us on Fiverr, link pinned in the comments below.